G'day, welcome to another Torbreck Masterclass, and today we're going to talk about old vines. My name's Ian Hongell, this is Nigel Blisky, and Nigel's our viticulturalist and I'm the chief winemaker. And really we want to talk about old vines and everything that makes them special, because this is, I guess, the element that is the uniqueness in the Barossa and the uniqueness at Torbreck underpins all our great wines.
So the Barossa Valley is a pretty fabulous place for old vines. The first vines were planted in the 1840s. We work with a vineyard that was planted in the 1840s, and our next oldest is 1850. So out of our portfolio of 130 hectares of company vineyards, we manage around 26 hectares of vineyards that are older than 100 years old. So we're very lucky and very fortunate to be the custodians of these really old vineyards.
And the Barossa itself is credited with the oldest Shiraz, the oldest Grenache, the oldest Cabernet, the oldest Mataro, and the oldest Semillon in the world. And that's because through the isolation of the region, many of the diseases and problems that have wiped out great vineyards of the world haven't actually come to the Barossa Valley. And so the benefit of that for us is that our old vineyards are still original plantings on original own roots.
And at Torbreck, we really value these old resources and have been using replanting vineyards with our old vine material to really maximise that resource. So again, that genetic material is some of the most important genetic material in the world for vinifera.
Yeah. And I guess if you're asking, why would you do that and why not use modern clones? And we feel very much that there's a difference in the heritage clone or old vine clone source material that region has. And so everything we've done about, I guess, Torbreck's journey since we began in 1994 is to resurrect old vineyards, but then also on new plantings, take cuttings from old vineyards and use those as our propagation material for vineyards that will be growing grapes well after Nigel and I aren't here anymore.
Yeah.
And a quick community shout out. The risk to us, of course, being on old vines is that we are susceptible to things like phylloxera. So if you do come to the Barossa Valley and you see these lovely old vineyards, do us all a favour and just keep out of them. Thank you very much.
That's it.
As the Barossa's home to some of the oldest vines in the world, our quest has been to find vineyards. They're often described as relics and are generally very old and broken down. And this is either through neglect or the previous owners perhaps have lost interest or they've got too old, and these vineyards have just essentially been left to ruin. And one of the things we've been really passionate about in our journey is to find these vineyards and find these old vines, and actually, rather than just pulling them out and starting with a new vineyard again, which for all intents and purposes would be cheaper, more efficient, and you would get more grapes, but you would lose that history. So Nigel and his team have spent, many, many years now trying to find these sites and actually spend time finding old vines like this and bringing them back to health.
As the vineyard gets older, obviously the vines keep growing, and how they grow is obviously erratic. It doesn't always grow where you want them to grow. So when many people would look at this vine and go, oh, we just need to cut this off. But we look at it very differently. We look at trying to preserve the healthy wood. As we can see, the vines died here, but it's still growing. So we look at this very differently. We try and resurrect this vine and allow it to actually keep growing and growing in a spot where we can still access it. So the way we prune and the way we manage it is very much about preservation rather than just trying to get a crop off it.
And with a site like this, where there's, perhaps 50% of the vines are no longer with us, we take it upon ourselves to either extend the vine into the missing space, or we take cuttings from the vine itself and then look to replant the same material in the gaps to work on bringing the whole property back to health.
One of the ways we look at with old vineyards about resurrecting them is we use it by layering. In this case, you can see where the vine was originally growing here. It is now curved over, and it's actually just touching the ground. As we leave this vine touching the ground, it actually will strike roots from the base of the plant here and re-establish its root system. So this part could actually die, this part will grow roots. We use that in Shiraz vineyards where we take a cane and we bury it in the ground, and that way it actually shoots roots again. So it's actually called layering, and it's a very useful way of maintaining these old vineyards and actually repopulating where we have misses.